Good afternoon and welcome to our professional learning network offered during our lunch hours. I am Marilee Silvera. I'm the Director of Academic and Learning Support at Carondelet High School, and I'm happy you could join me in this presentation on designing for e-learning success in context of our Cougar Prep course that we offer for basically a summer session bridge. Today's agenda is going to include e-learning success when considering your goals and objectives, choosing content for your course, choosing instructional methods for your course, connecting learning activities to experiences, and finally assessments. So let's go ahead and focus on Cougar Prep. Cougar Prep is the model class that we're going to be talking about. And for Cougar Prep, or for any class that you are designing for online purposes, you want to consider your background and your audience. And so we know that Cougar Prep is going to consist of students that are coming from many zip codes, more than 10 zip codes in Contra Costa County. They will be incoming frosh. So basically it's going to be a great variety of students based on culture, race, socioeconomic status. And so it's very important that you understand who your audience is. The other aspect of setting up your course is that you want to be sure that you're meeting students where they are. And so with that, we want to leverage activities and skills that are going to move students up Bloom's taxonomy from more simplistic cognitive skills to more complex remembering, all the way up to things such as applying and creating. And we know from Bloom's taxonomy that the goal of an educator using Bloom's taxonomy is to encourage higher order thought in our students by building up from lower level cognitive skills. And so we're hopeful that these activities that we set up and design for our online course are going to satisfy that, but as well, we want them to be able to have experiences and opportunities that will allow for creativity and that are meaningful and applicable to life. When our students come in for Cougar Prep, they will be assessed using NWEA's MAP assessments for both ELA and math. And in this way, we will have a solid baseline from which to work and differentiate as we move into our Cougar Prep program. Basically, the big umbrella for Cougar Prep, and again, what you would want to include in your online design for any class is a set of course objectives. So these are kind of the themes for your course and kind of the driving beacon, if you will, of what you're trying to accomplish via your class or course. And so Cougar Prep is going to be a review of basic skills, reading, writing, and math. It will serve to familiarize students with the school's learning management systems, Schoology and PowerSchool. And probably most important for a teenager is to provide students a social experience where they can gain confidence and meet new people. Going back to the idea of course objectives, these we know help teachers to plan and deliver appropriate instruction, design valid assessment tasks and strategies, and it also helps to ensure that instruction and assessment are aligned with the overall objectives for the course and could even be taken up to the overall institution's objectives and mission. Moving onward, for the unit rationale, it is important for learning objectives to be measurable and observable statements of what the students will be doing during their class. And Cougar Prep will be full of first-time high schoolers who will need a strong learning design so that they can find purpose and meaning in what they do. And again, we want them to gain confidence as a learner. And this will kind of go along with those strong learning objectives. I think that it will just ensure student success. So this would be an example of a strong learning objective, student learning objective. For Cougar Prep, one of the modules is Cougar Read, and one of the tasks that the students will be completing during their time with us is to read House on Mango Street. So this is basically the summer reading assignment for incoming freshmen. And so while reading House on Mango Street, students will apply their personal experiences to the understanding of a vignette while creating a 2-minute Flipgrid. So you can see there that in this learning objective, there is the condition and the behavior and the degree of which they will perform. And you want to make sure that you have those inclusive in any learning objective, truly online, or if you're in a live class, you want those aspects in your learning objective to make sure that it's as strong as possible. Moving forward, when choosing content, we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our learners. So beginning with that baseline data of the MAP testing, we also want to know more about our students, and we want to learn and be able to work with them while understanding what kind of learners they are. Not only what kind of teachers we are, but learners that they are. And that's important for them to discover as well. And so I'd like to suggest that you begin with multiple intelligences and a survey. Howard Gardner, there are several of these surveys online, but it's important to determine the learner's top intelligences so that activities can match the learner's strengths. And one thing with an online class is you want to be aware of your kinesthetic learners. So if you do survey your students and you find that you have a large proportion that are kinesthetic, meaning that they are active versus more passive and require movement, you just want to make sure that you can accommodate for them. We know, based on Howard Gardner's research, that schools typically tend to focus on linguistic and logistical, logical mathematician types of intelligences. So we want to make sure that we incorporate all kinds of approaches to satisfy multiple intelligences that we'll find amongst our students. The teaching style that I actually would like to employ for Cougar Prep, you may have a different one, but I'd like to employ that of the facilitator, which will serve to encourage self-learning, self-actualization, and critical thinking skills. These are all kind of lifelong learning types of skill sets that are important for high school and beyond. And I'd also like to consider constructivism and connectivism, in that students will be actively, building their learning and expanding on information that they already know. Furthermore, moving along in making sure that you're meeting the needs of your learner, you want to set expectations for both you and your student, which would include determining a balance of time. That would include the time that the learner spends with the content, that the learner spends with a possible other partner or a learner, and the amount of time that you're going to be spending with your student. And coming up with a mix that one category is not completely dominating the other. We don't want to offer an online course where the learner is interacting with content for 100% of the time. We want to strive to increase student interactions, create a consistent, welcoming tone. This would be considered humanizing your course, and you want to definitely have a consistent online presence where you can offer feedback on a regular basis. This way, students are secure in the process. They know that they're working with someone who cares about them, who is interested in their learning, and again, just setting them up for future success. After 2 weeks, I would suggest that you offer a feedback survey so that you can gauge where students are with your course. They can give you some feedback, which might keep things on track that you've already planned for, but it might be very valuable information that actually requires that you shift your focus and kind of reevaluate where you're taking your students. And that's okay too. And then at the end of the course, I would suggest that you provide a final survey to determine what the students have learned and what are they going to be able to take away from this experience that they'll be able to bring into their first semester of their high school year. Moving forward, choosing instruction methods, we want to make sure that the activities that you choose are suited for the online environment. And I think that the very nature of the Cougar Prep class and its objectives, where we're focusing on familiarity with the learning management system, getting to know other students, and then a review of those basic skills, all lend themselves to Vygotsky's theory for the zone of proximal development. And, using good active learning strategies to build on a student's previous understanding. Again, meeting students where they are and guiding them via these active and interactive experiences, collaborative experiences to build further and more meaningful knowledge. Through the use of simple to complex active learning strategies, we want to also cultivate convergent and divergent thinking. And according to Sarithra, we know that activities that cultivate both of these in conjunction with one another, that will be best practice and will yield some greater outcomes. Appropriate online activities could include, we want them to be active, they could include and should include consideration of Bloom's taxonomy. So again, moving up the spectrum in terms of complexity of cognitive skills and usage. In Cougar Read, students are going to be learning and utilizing ed tech tools such as Common Lit and Edpuzzle. They will be synthesizing information via the use of Flipgrid, an amazing ed tech tool. They will be able to relate with one another and post discussions for TED Talks. They will be elaborating upon their thinking with think, pair, share activities, particularly towards their final project, which is going to be them creating their own vignette. So there'll be a lot of opportunity to provide feedback to one another. And then review and comment on 3 other classmate vignettes using Flipgrid will provide another active and interactive experience. They will be able to go into breakout rooms via Zoom situations where they will have some privacy, can cultivate friendships and learn more about one another, especially before they come onto campus. Another opportunity would be to use Google Jamboard, where they can actually post information from entrance and exit tickets, which are wonderful anecdotal methods of gleaning where students are with their thinking, their thoughts, their opinions. Very easy to do, and it's a very easy program to use within the Google Suite. And then I wanted to stress the importance of collaboration, and we know that collaborative experiences actually lend themselves to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so while the classes are live or synchronous and online, we can use Padlet for group responses. But I think most important in this idea is that we want to cultivate collaborative experiences so that students can be exposed to diverse learning experiences. And we know that they tend to develop more diverse friendships and overall attitudes when they are in such collaborative experiences. And furthermore, according to Allport's contact theory, bias can be reduced when students have interpersonal contact with others unlike themselves. So in Cougar Prep, there will be many opportunities for them to be in touch with one another and working together as a team. Assessment methods, you want to make sure that you have your objectives aligned with your teaching methods and your assessment techniques. I can't say enough about backwards planning. Your activities need to be meaningful and aligned with both your course objectives and your assessments. You want them to be reasonable, inclusive of formative and summative assessments, that the assessments are actually that there's a variety of them, that they're actually measuring how the students will be able to apply the information beyond the classroom experience. And it's important to also make sure to provide timely feedback as the teacher so that they can glean greater understanding. And then lastly here we have